Depending which side of the border you're on, a sip of this hits your taste buds a little bit differently. That's because some of the same mass-produced food and drink products aren't actually made the same on both sides of this international line.
Marketers have recognized that because people in Quebec have a sweeter tooth, they like sweeter things, a lot of products have been adapted. American products in Quebec have been adapted to have higher sugar content. Sweeter Pepsi, sweeter Kellogg's Frosted Flakes, sweeter Oreo cookies.
And sweeter Coca-Cola. Americans and Canadians living near the border are uniquely exposed to a spillover of nationally marketed junk food culture.
Food is a very visible and important component of cultural expression. And so this is, one way that it's fairly easy to look at similarities and differences in culture in terms of their food preferences and food trends.
Living a half hour from a foreign country is an advantage in teaching international marketing, according to Dr. Lisa Rowe.
It's a wonderful opportunity to actually be able to send the students to Canada to do the research so that they can see with their own eyes the difference between how marketing is done in the US and in Canada.
Before we get to work, you're going to do ketchup chips right now?
I have to get it out of the way or it's going to be on my mind.
Ketchup chips, big in Quebec. The spicier versions of chips would be more popular on the US side of the border than on the Canadian side of the border. Vinegar potato chips are very big on the Canadian side, much bigger than they are on the US side of the border. The higher quality chocolates are more popular in Quebec and people are willing to pay the higher price, whereas the standard Hershey bar types of things sell more in the US.
Flavor preference is one thing, but federal regulations also impact what can be offered where.
One of the differences between the two countries is a fake fat called Olestra, which is allowed in the US. It's used in potato chips, and it's not allowed in Canada.
Olestra is used in high-fat foods as a fat substitute, resulting in a light or fat-free version. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration originally approved the food additive only if companies listed health warnings about possible side effects. The FDA has since lifted that warning requirement.
Canada had a restriction on saccharin, which is the little pink packets, and they just recently allowed it both as an ingredient in foods and as a sugar substitute sold in packages.
In the U.S., the FDA used to require warning labels on saccharin up until about 2001, but it was never fully taken off the shelves. Federal regulations differ again when it comes to an ingredient called potassium bromate. In the States, it's used to strengthen dough in some breads. You might see it labeled as bromated flour, but it's illegal in Canada because of research linking the substance to cancer. According to Rowe, Quebecers specifically also tend to be wearier of products labeled diet or sugar-free.
If they're called diet, they don't really sell very well, but if they're called light, like 7-Up Light or Coca-Cola Light, those have better appeal, to people in Quebec.
Regional Americans and Canadians can literally pick which version they prefer. Canadian shoppers actually help support the North Country economy.
This comes from being on the border and becoming aware of the existence of these products. A lot of people have memberships at Sam's Club or go to Price Chopper. They'll buy a lot of packaged foods that might be less expensive here than in Canada, or a variety that's a little different than what they can get in Canada.
She's not sure how aware local consumers are of all of the nation's specific marketing strategies, but certainly the short distance to the border is an opportunity for a unique look. For Mountain Lake Journal, I'm Tamika Weatherspoon.